Industrial land is a land devoted principally to industrial activity as capital investment and is not classified as agricultural, commercial, timber, mineral, or a residential land. Just compensation. So compensation is described as the just and complete equivalent of the loss which the owner of the thing expropriated has to suffer by reason of the expropriation. In land use, this one refers to the manner of utilization of land. It's either agricultural, commercial, residential, or mineral. So including its allocation, the development, and management. The land use conversion, it refers to the act or process of changing the current use of a piece of agricultural land into some other uses as approved by the Department of Agrarian Reform. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, they reported that the rice lands have shrunk by 48% since the 1980s. So our agricultural land are considered as our food basket, and it is depreciating due to massive development. So that's why the Department of Agrarian Reform and our government are also uh, updating their policies regarding the land use conversion to protect the food basket and also to protect the food source of our country. The mangrove land. So this is a term applied to the type of forest occurring on tidal flat along the seacoast, extending along the stream where the water is a brackish. Mass appraisal. So this one is the process of valuing a group of properties as of a given date using a standard methodology. So it employs a common data and allowing for statistical testing. So mass appraisal requires another subject in order for us to discuss the full details of mass appraisal. The market data approach. So this is known as the comparative approach. Traditionally, an appraisal procedure in which the market value estimate is predicted upon prices paid in actual market transactions and current listings. It is a process of analyzing the sales of similar recently sold properties in order to derive an indication of the most probable prices of the property being appraised. The reliability of this technique is dependent upon the availability of comparable sales data, the verification of the sales data, the degree of comparability, or the extent of adjustment necessary for a time differences, and also the absence of non-typical conditions affecting the sale price. So if you're using the market data approach, so these four you should be considered in appraising the property. The mineral lands. So these are the lands which minerals, metallic or non-metallic, it exists in sufficient quantity or grade to justify the necessary expenditures to extract and utilize such materials. The National Integrated Protected Areas System or NIPAS. So this is the classification and administration of all designated protected areas to maintain essential ecological process and life support system. So this is to preserve the genetic diversity, to ensure sustainable use of resources of the forest, and to maintain their natural condition to the extent possible. Reassessment. So in reassessment is the assigning of new assessed value to property, particularly real estate, as the result of a general, partial, and individual reappraisal of the property. Records conversion and management. So this one is the establishment and also the maintenance of permanent official records and files in the office of the provincial, city, or municipal assessor, so that an updated and regular listing of all the properties is readily available. It also serves as a basis for a more accurate collection of real property tax and establishes the important link between the assessment and tax collection operations. The special economic zone. So this one it refers to selected areas which have the potential to be developed into agricultural or agro-industrial, industrial, a tourist, recreational, commercial, either banking, investment, or financial centers. An ecozone may contain any of the following, like an industrial estates, export processing zones, free trade zones, and tourist recreational centers. So here in Iloilo City, so the House Committee on Economic Affairs and the Committee on Trade and Industry are already pushing the economic zone or the special economic zone and free port here in our city. And we are very excited for that to be materialized. In the special purpose properties are the properties which are designed, constructed, and developed for a specific use or a purpose. By its very nature, this type of property is rarely offered for sale in the open market, except as part of going concern. Because of the special design and the function, the conversion of the special purpose properties to another purpose or another development may not be economically feasible. Socialized housing. So this one refers to housing programs and projects covering a houses and lots or home lots only undertaken by the government or the private sector for the underprivileged and homeless citizens, which will include sites and service development, the long-term financing, and also the liberalized terms on interest payment and such other benefits in accordance with RA 7279. So the tax map. So tax map is a graphic representation of a portion of the Earth's surface. So it is drawn to scale on a standard size drawing material and having a property lines and a jurisdiction and identifying each separate real property ownership by a unique number. A tax map is also referred to as a property identification map. And the tax mapping is a very highly accurate method of field operations for identifying a real property units, defining the property boundaries, and determining the actual use, and discovering the undeclared properties for taxation purposes. The timberland is land identified as forest or reserve area by the government which may or may not be granted to a concessionaire's licensee, lessee, or permittee. So the tourist or the tourism development areas. So we have a lot here in Iloilo City. This one, it refers to specific sites for tourism development located in areas identified as priorities in the national and regional tourism master plans, as well as those designated through legislation and executive issuances as tourist zone, which can be developed into tourism estates or integrated resort, leisure, and recreation complexes and other tourism related facilities. Valuation date of the date the conclusion or opinion rendered in an appraisal is applicable and valid. So the date of appraisal, it identifies the market conditions that existed when the appraisal was made. So the value, it is the relationship between a thing that are being desired and a potential purchaser. It also refers to the present worth of a future benefits arising out of ownership of property. A value exists when an item of a property has a utility, is relatively scarce, arouses the desire of potential buyer to buy, and is backed by the purchasing power. The watershed is the one that refers to a catchment area or drainage basin from which the water of a stream or stream system is drawn. So it collects the volume of water. That is a watershed. So the zoning is the delineation or the division of a city or a municipality into a functional zone where only the specific land use are allowed. It directs and regulates the use of all the lands in the community in accordance with an approved and adopted land use plan for the city and municipality. So it prescribes setbacks, the provisions, the minimum lot sizes, and also the building heights and above. And the zoning ordinance is the local legislation approving the development of the control and zoning plan and providing for the regulation and other conditions on the use of land. So our next lesson, it will be the local government assessment organization. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on our next lesson.